Has Mardi Gras ever been portrayed on Broadway? The answer is yes, and in some very interesting productions. Class is in session. I'm Professor Carnival, and this is Carnival Unmasked. If you've been to my channel before, welcome back. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm Professor Carnival. For the past 30 years, I've been a carnival expert on New Orleans television. I'm also the star of the Professor Carnival stage show, and in 2021, I was named a culture bearer by mayoral proclamation. I love all things carnival and New Orleans, and I love it when both things come together in a big splashy musical, like our subject for today.
The first time Broadway discovered Mardi Gras was in 1940, with the opening of Louisiana Purchase, a satirical show about political graft set in New Orleans at Mardi Gras. With music and lyrics by Irving Berlin and a book by Maury Riskind, the show was a parody of colorful New Orleans politics under Governor Huey P. Long. The befuddled, unworldly, and yet thoroughly honest Senator Oliver P. Loganberry comes to do a political investigation during Mardi Gras, leading to a spectacular carnival farce and the first depiction of a Mardi Gras parade on a Broadway stage. The show played a packed 444 performances and inspired a movie version starring Bob Hope in 1941. The show debuted the classic songs What Chance Have I with Love and Dance With Me Tonight at the Mardi Gras.
In 1959, Carnival and Mardi Gras returned to Broadway in the musical Saratoga.
Based on Edna Ferber's best-selling 1941 book Saratoga Trunk and a 1945 motion picture, it tells of an illegitimate Creole woman returning to New Orleans to seek revenge on the wealthy family that exiled her to Paris. She falls in love with a Texas gambler fighting the railroad barons of the South and the East, also seeking his revenge. And as it is often in real life, it all happens around Mardi Gras. Fun.
But Broadway isn't the only theatre community that thinks that Mardi Gras should be on stage.
In 1976, London's West End saw the opening of Mardi Gras, written by Alan Blakely, Ken Howard, and Melvin Bragg. Like many first-time carnival stories, it's a loosely arranged plot about a young man finding himself in the vibrant air of Mardi Gras in New Orleans. While the show didn't run for very long in the West End, the cast reporting kept alive a wonderful score that, of all the shows in this list, sounds the most like actual carnival music and musical styles heard in New Orleans in the mid-1970s. Before he was a Broadway and Disney superstar, composer Alan Menken wrote two different musical shows in 1981. The mega-hit Little Shop of Horrors with Howard Ashman, and another musical meant specifically for regional and community theaters called The Dream on Royal Street. A rare gem of a musical based on Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, the show is set in a Royal Street hotel on Mardi Gras night. The show continues to be produced by community theaters across the country today.
The best-known song from the show is the opening number, Mardi Gras, and the first premiere, the New Orleans premiere of The Dream on Royal Street, took place here in 2008 at the Ty Tracy Theatre in Gallier Hall, produced by Crescent City Lights Youth Theatre. Also in 1981, a musical called Storyville, then called New Orleans, and then called a number of other names, was the talk of National Theatre Circle. Set in 1917 New Orleans during the carnival season, it explored the birth of jazz music and introduced a literary giant to musical theatre.
The show began in 1962 as a ballet called District Storyville, which explored the life of Louis Armstrong growing up in a Storyville brothel. Broadway dancer, choreographer, and director Donald McHale worked with composer Dorothea Freitag and the famed Alvin Ailey Dance Company. McHale later had great success with Sophisticated Ladies on Broadway in 1981 and decided to revisit District Storyville as a musical. Convincing celebrated author Toni Morrison to be the playwright inspired a lot of national interest in the production, and a workshop drew big expectations for a Broadway run. The show featured music by Jelly Roll Morton and Sidney Bechet, and some of the biggest names in theatre were cast for a 6-week run. Word from the workshop performances was generally good, and it had its moments, but most agreed that the show didn't work. A staged reading at Joseph Papp's Public Theatre happened in 1984, but there was no Broadway production, and the show quietly disappeared. It is remembered today by theatre scholars and theatre fans as one of the heartbreakers. Fun fact, jazz was originally spelled J-A-S-S when the art form was first emerging in the brothels and bars of New Orleans, Kansas City, and New York in the early 1900s. The spelling and pronunciation changed around 1917 because of the word's association with certain adult activities.
More recent musicals have used Carnival and Mardi Gras music not to evoke the sense of a place, but to evoke the feel of the city during Carnival.
1992's Jelly's Last Jam, based on the music of Jelly Roll Morton, used Mardi Gras-style orchestrations to create a New Orleans mood. It should also be noted here that Jelly Roll Morton also began his career in Storyville.
Most recently, the Broadway musical Hadestown, based on the Greek legend of Orpheus and Eurydice, sets hell as a jazz-style afterlife.
There's also 2001's Thou Shalt Not, composed by New Orleans' own Harry Connick Jr. Based on the 1867 novel Thérèse Raquin by Émile Zola, the short-lived musical tells the story of a New Orleans pianist who returns from World War II, falls in love with his brother's wife, and the conspiracy to kill him that ruins their lives. The show featured a Mardi Gras segment and songs like Take Her to the Mardi Gras.
Most recently in 2024, a 145-year-old Gilbert and Sullivan operetta was reorchestrated and reset to New Orleans during Mardi Gras in Pirates the Penzance musical. The musical starred Ramon Carmelou, David Hyde Pierce, and Jinx Monsoon. Over the decades, Carnival and Mardi Gras in New Orleans have fascinated theatergoers around the world. It's curious to note, though, that most of the songs from musicals that were inspired by Mardi Gras, those songs have yet to make it into the standard Mardi Gras canon today. Interesting. Broadway and Mardi Gras, a cultural expansion of our carnival heritage.
Your homework is to like and share this video and follow me on all your social media. On Facebook, YouTube, Blue Sky, and X at Prof Carnival, and on Instagram and TikTok at Prof Carnival 1996. Class dismissed!